He never smiled again after becoming a widower, until his new secretary did something unexpected. Michael Peterson spent his days like a ghost in his own office, carrying a sadness everyone could feel in the air. For 3 years, he hadn't cracked a single smile, not since his wife Elizabeth had passed away, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. The new secretary, Jennifer Parker, 28 years old, had only been hired a week ago, but already sensed something deep was troubling her boss. Unlike the other employees who simply avoided bothering him, she watched with curiosity the small details that revealed the hidden pain of the 57-year-old businessman. "Mr. Peterson, I brought the reports you asked for," Jennifer said, carefully stepping into the executive office. Michael didn't even look up from his papers. Jennifer noticed his gaze fixed on an empty picture frame on his desk, right next to his computer. It was strange. Why would someone keep a frame with no photo? "Just leave them on the desk," he murmured without raising his head. Jennifer placed the documents where he'd indicated and for a few seconds studied the man in front of her. Michael had graying hair at his temples, deep wrinkles from time and stress, and a hunched posture that betrayed the weight on his shoulders. His eyes, which should have sparkled with the wisdom of someone who'd built a thriving company, were dull, like unlit candles. In the days that followed, Jennifer began noticing a strange pattern in Michael's behavior. Every morning, around 10 o'clock, he would stand by his office window, staring at the garden of the commercial building where his consulting firm was located in Soho, New York. His hands trembled slightly as he held his coffee cup, and he always let it grow cold without taking a sip. "Mrs. Thompson," Jennifer called out to the longest-serving employee in the company, who had worked in the finance department for 15 years. "Can I ask you something about Mr. Peterson?" Thompson, a 60-year-old woman with completely white hair and reading glasses, sighed deeply. "What do you want to know, dear? But I'll warn you, it's a sensitive topic. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. It's about that empty picture frame on his desk. And why is he always so sad?" Thompson glanced around to make sure no one else was listening and lowered her voice. "It's been 3 years since he lost his wife, Elizabeth. They were married for 25 years. After she passed, he took down all her photos from the office because he said it hurt too much to look at them. But now he suffers because he has no visual memory of her. It's a painful contradiction." Jennifer's heart ached. She knew all too well what it was like to lose someone important. She had lost her own father at 16 and remembered the emptiness that had consumed her family. "Does he have any children?" No, they never did. Elizabeth always said the company was like their child. They treated every employee like family. After she was gone, Michael completely shut down. He doesn't talk to anyone, doesn't attend company events, doesn't smile. It's like a part of him left with her. That revelation stayed with Jennifer for the rest of the day. She watched Michael from the corner of her eye, noticing how he touched the empty frame as if speaking to someone who was no longer there. At the end of the workday, when most employees had already left, Jennifer decided to stay a little longer to organize some files. That's when she heard a strange sound coming from Michael's office. Muffled sobs. She approached the slightly open door and saw a scene that broke her heart. Michael was sitting in his armchair, holding the empty picture frame against his chest, crying silently. His words were whispered, as if he were talking to someone. "Elizabeth, my love, I don't know how to go on without you. Everything has lost its meaning. The company, the employees, even our dream of traveling to Europe when I retired, none of it matters anymore." Jennifer stepped back quietly, feeling tears stream down her face. That night, she couldn't sleep, thinking about that man's pain. The next morning, Jennifer arrived at the office early and decided to investigate discreetly. She started with the company archives, searching for old photos from corporate events. Maybe she'd find some pictures of Elizabeth that could bring back good memories for Michael. "What exactly are you looking for?" asked Tyler, the IT employee, a 30-year-old guy who always wore funny t-shirts. "Old company photos for a special project," Jennifer lied. Tyler helped her access the old digital files. There were hundreds of photos of Christmas parties, grand openings, client events, and in many of them, An elegant woman with brown hair and a warm smile appeared beside Michael. It was Elizabeth. Wow. The boss was so different back then, Tyler commented, pointing to a photo where Michael was smiling openly, hugging Elizabeth. They looked so happy. Did you know his wife? Yeah, I did. Mrs. Elizabeth was amazing. She always remembered everyone's birthdays, organized company parties, took care of everyone like a mother. When she, it hit all of us hard. Jennifer kept exploring the files and found something even more interesting. Videos from the events. In one of them, Elizabeth was giving a speech thanking the employees at Christmas in 2020. "I want to thank each of you for being part of our family," Elizabeth said in the video, her voice sweet and tender. "Michael and I always said a company isn't built just on numbers and profits, but on people who care about each other." In the video, Michael looked at her with so much love, it was impossible not to be moved. Jennifer realized she needed to show this to him, even if it was painful at first. At lunch, Jennifer decided to discreetly follow Michael. She had noticed he always left alone at the same time and wanted to know where he went. To her surprise, he headed to a small Italian restaurant 2 blocks from the office. Jennifer entered a few minutes later and chose a table in the back where she could observe without being seen. What she saw touched her even more deeply. Michael ordered 2 plates of food, as if he weren't alone. When the waiter brought the order, he placed 1 plate in front of the empty chair and began eating from the other, speaking softly as if Elizabeth were there. "The company's doing well, love," he said to the empty chair. "The employees are dedicated, especially the new secretary. I think you'd like her." The waiter, an Italian man in his 60s, approached Michael with familiarity. "Mr. Peterson, as usual, shall I pack the 2nd plate for you to take home?" "Please, Anthony. You know how much she loved your ravioli." Anthony nodded with understanding and affection. It was clear this scene had been repeating for a long time. Jennifer left the restaurant before Michael and hurried back to the office, pretending she'd never left. Her mind raced with ideas about how she could help this man who was clearly trapped in grief that consumed him. That afternoon, she sought out Mrs. Thompson again. "Mrs. Thompson, can I ask you something? Does Mr. Peterson keep in touch with his wife's family?" "Not that I know of." After Elizabeth passed away, he cut ties with everyone who reminded him of her. Elizabeth's sister even tried to stay in touch for a while, but he always refused her invitations and visits. "Do you have her sister's contact information?" Thompson hesitated for a moment. "Yes, I do, but why do you ask?" "I think Mr. Peterson needs help getting through this. Maybe Elizabeth's family has some memories that could help him cherish their love in a healthier way." "Young lady, you barely know the man and already want to meddle in his personal life. This could go very wrong." "I know the risks, Mrs. Thompson, but I also can't just watch him suffer like this every day. Someone has to do something." Thompson fell silent for a few seconds, studying Jennifer's determined face. "Her sister's name is Sarah Elizabeth Parker. She owns a flower shop in Chelsea. But if this backfires, you didn't hear it from me." That same afternoon after work, Jennifer took the subway to Chelsea. The flower shop, Enchanted Blooms, was on a busy street, its entrance filled with colorful flowers. A woman in her mid-50s with features resembling Elizabeth's from the photos Jennifer had seen was helping a customer. "Excuse me, are you Sarah Elizabeth Parker?" "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" "My name is Jennifer. I work at Michael Peterson's company. Could we talk in private?" Sarah's expression hardened immediately. "If he sent you here to say he doesn't want to be bothered anymore, save your breath. I got the message 3 years ago." "Actually, it's the opposite. He doesn't know I'm here. I'm worried about him and thought you might help me understand the situation better." Sarah studied Jennifer for a moment before calling an employee to take her place. "Let's talk in the back." They sat in a small room behind the shop, surrounded by the gentle scent of flowers. "How is he?" Sarah asked, and Jennifer saw genuine concern in her eyes. "Not well. He doesn't smile, doesn't talk to anyone, keeps an empty picture frame on his desk, and eats alone at the same restaurant every day, ordering food for 2. Sarah sighed deeply and wiped a tear from her face. My sister Elizabeth was the light of his life, and he was everything to her. When she got sick, Michael stayed by her side every second. After she passed, he told me he couldn't bear to see anything that reminded him of her because the pain was too much. But this is destroying him, Mrs. Parker. He needs to learn to live with the memories in a healthy way. I tried to help, dear. In the first few months, I visited him, tried to talk, brought photos of Elizabeth, the things he asked me to keep, but he always sent me away, said seeing anything related to her was like reopening a wound that never healed. Do you still have Elizabeth's things? Yes, almost everything. Clothes, books, personal items, photos. Michael told me to throw it all away, but I couldn't bring myself to. I kept it, hoping he'd change his mind one day. Jennifer felt a spark of hope. What if we tried a different approach? Instead of forcing him to face the memories all at once, maybe we could gradually introduce things that show the love they shared in a positive way. I don't know, dear. I've been hurt so many times trying to help him. What if this makes things worse? Mrs. Parker, with all due respect, he can't get much worse than he is now. Mr. Peterson is living like a ghost. Would the Elizabeth you described want to see her husband like this? Sarah grew thoughtful for a few minutes. Elizabeth always said that if anything happened to her, she'd want Michael to be happy. She even wrote him some letters, you know, to be delivered in difficult times. Letters? What kind of letters? One for their wedding anniversary, one for his birthday, another for Christmas. She was preparing for a difficult surgery and wanted to leave love messages in case things didn't go as expected. Jennifer felt her heart race. Do you still have those letters? I do. Michael never knew they existed. Elizabeth asked me to deliver them only if I felt he was ready to receive them. And do you think he's ready? Honestly, I don't know. But I also know 3 years have passed, and he isn't getting better on his own. The two women talked for another hour, and Sarah shared stories about Elizabeth that helped Jennifer better understand the kind of person she was and the deep love between the couple. Elizabeth had a secret project before she passed, Sarah said. She was planning a surprise trip to Europe for their 25th wedding anniversary. Everything was arranged, hotels, restaurants, places Michael had always dreamed of visiting. How sad they never got to live that dream. Yes, she had even bought a special notebook to write about the trip, ended up using it to write love letters to him. When Jennifer returned home that night, she was determined to help Michael in some way, but she knew she had to be careful and strategic. One wrong move could push him further away or cause a negative reaction. The next day, she arrived at work with a plan in mind. She would start with small gestures, observing Michael's reactions before taking bigger steps. "Good morning, Mr. Peterson," she greeted, entering the room with the morning reports. "Good morning," he replied without looking up. "Would you like me to bring you fresh coffee? I noticed yours is cold." Michael looked at her for a few seconds, as if truly seeing her for the first time. "Don't trouble yourself." "It's no trouble. I like taking care of people." She left the room and returned minutes later with a cup of hot coffee and a small vase of sunflowers she had bought from Sarah's flower shop. "I brought these to brighten up the space a little," she said, placing the flowers on the file cabinet. Michael looked at the sunflowers with a strange expression, almost pained. "Why sunflowers?" "They're my favorite flowers. I always think they bring joy to any place. Don't you like them?" "It's not that. It's just—" He stopped mid-sentence and shook his head. "You can leave them there." Jennifer noticed he kept staring at the flowers for several minutes after she left. She didn't know, but she had hit the mark perfectly. Sunflowers were Elizabeth's favorite flowers. Over the following days, Jennifer began implementing small changes in Michael's routine. She made sure to always bring fresh coffee, organized his schedule better so he wouldn't feel overwhelmed, and gradually started small conversations. "Mr. Peterson, may I ask a personal question?" she ventured one Thursday morning. "Depends on the question. How did you meet your wife?" Michael stopped writing and looked at her sternly. "Why do you want to know that? I'm sorry if I was intrusive. It's just that sometimes you look at that photo frame and seem so sad. I thought maybe talking about good memories could help." "You don't understand anything about what I feel," he said sharply. and I don't want you meddling in my personal life." Jennifer's face burned with embarrassment, but she didn't give up. "You're right, I don't fully understand, but I know what it's like to lose someone important. I lost my father when I was a teenager." Michael looked at her more closely, and she could see the hardness in his eyes soften slightly. "It was hard," Jennifer continued. "For a long time, I also avoided everything that reminded me of him, but then I realized I was losing the good memories along with the pain." "It's not the same," murmured Michael. "Maybe not, but the pain of losing someone we love is universal, isn't it?" Michael stayed silent for a few seconds, nervously fidgeting with his pen. "Elizabeth and I met in college," he finally said, his voice low. "She was studying business, I was in engineering. We ran into each other at the library. She had knocked over a stack of books, and I helped pick them up." Jennifer sat in the chair across from his desk, showing she was listening carefully. "Was it love at first sight?" "For me, yes. For her—" A faint, almost imperceptible smile appeared at the corner of Michael's mouth. "For her, it took longer. I had to win her over with lots of coffee and a lot of patience." "How romantic." "Elizabeth always said I was too persistent for my own good." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. Jennifer noticed it was the first time she'd seen Michael relax a little while talking about his wife. Maybe there was hope after all. "And how did the proposal happen?" Michael hesitated but seemed to enjoy reminiscing. "It was in the same place we met. I went back to the college library 20 years later and recreated the scene with the falling books. Only this time, when she bent down to help pick them up, she found a box with the ring in the middle of the pile." What a beautiful story. Elizabeth cried so much the librarian thought something terrible had happened. Michael let out a quiet laugh, almost a whisper. Jennifer felt her heart race. It was the first time in weeks she'd seen Michael show anything resembling joy. "Do you have wedding photos?" Michael's expression shifted immediately, returning to his usual closed-off demeanor. "I don't like looking at photos." "Why not?" "Because it hurts too much. It's like staring at a life that doesn't exist anymore. But don't you think your life together was so beautiful, it deserves to be remembered?" "You don't understand," Michael said, raising his voice. "When you love someone for 25 years and that person just disappears from your life, the memories become torture. Every photo, every object, every song she liked, it all feels like a knife to the chest." Jennifer saw tears forming in his eyes and knew she'd touched a deep wound. "I'm sorry, Mr. Peterson. I didn't mean to upset you. You'd better focus on your work and leave my personal life alone." That day, Michael was even more withdrawn than usual. Jennifer felt guilty for pressing the issue, but she also realized she'd gotten him to talk about Elizabeth for the first time in ages. At lunch, she decided not to follow him this time. Instead, she used the break to call Sarah. "Mrs. Thompson, it's Jennifer. I managed to get Michael to talk a little about Elizabeth today." "Really? How did it go?" "He told me how they met and about the proposal. For a few minutes he even seemed happy remembering, but when I mentioned photos, he completely shut down. Yeah, photos are a sore spot for him. After Elizabeth passed, he gave me all her pictures and asked me to keep them away from him. Do you think we could meet after work? I'd like to see some of Elizabeth's things. Maybe it'll help me understand how to help him better." "Of course, dear. Come by my place at 7. I'll text you the address." That evening, Jennifer arrived at Sarah's house, a simple but cozy home in Chinatown. Sarah welcomed her warmly, and the two settled in the living room. "I brought some of Elizabeth's things for you to see," said Sarah, placing a large box on the coffee table. Inside the box were photo albums, letters, notebooks, personal items, and some jewelry. Jennifer carefully examined each item. "Wow, what a beautiful couple," she commented, flipping through a wedding album. They really were. "And look at this." Sarah picked up a floral-covered notebook. "This is the notebook I told you about. Elizabeth started writing here when she found out she needed surgery." Jennifer opened the notebook and saw page after page of handwritten notes in Elizabeth's delicate script. My dear Michael, if you're reading this, it means our plans to travel to Europe together didn't happen the way we dreamed. But I want you to know that every day by your side was like a trip to paradise. Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears as she read those words full of love. Are all the pages like this? Yes. She wrote letters for different moments in his life, one for when he felt alone, one for when he felt angry, one for when he wanted to give up. Elizabeth thought of every feeling he might have and left words of love and encouragement. This is incredible, and Michael never knew. Never. Elizabeth made me promise I'd only give it to him if I was sure he was ready to receive it. But after she passed, he became so bitter about everything related to her that I never had the courage to deliver it. Jennifer kept flipping through the notebook and found something that caught her attention. Look at this, Mrs. Thompson. My love, if you're avoiding looking at our photos, I want you to know I understand. The pain is truly overwhelming at first. But when you're ready, I hope you can see our photos not as goodbye but as proof that we lived a true love. Each photo of us is a testament to 25 years of happiness. Sarah smiled through her tears. Elizabeth was always so wise. She knew exactly how Michael would react to every situation. Mrs. Thompson, I think it's time we give him this notebook. Do you think so? What if he gets even angrier? From what I talked to him about today, I think he's starting to miss the good memories. Deep down he wants to remember Elizabeth, but he doesn't know how to do it without feeling pain. Maybe you're right, but how will we do it? He won't even see me if I show up at the company. Leave that to me, I'll find a way. Find her. Jennifer spent the rest of the evening at Sarah's house, listening to stories about Elizabeth and Michael, and planning how to approach the situation delicately. The next morning, Jennifer arrived at work with a plan in mind. She had chosen a single photo from the wedding album, a picture where Michael and Elizabeth were laughing, embracing, with a backdrop of sunflowers. During lunch break, while Michael was at the Italian restaurant, Jennifer discreetly entered his office and placed the photo inside the empty frame along with a small note. Mr. Peterson, I found this photo in the company's old archives. I thought you might like to have it back. Jennifer. After that, she spent the rest of the afternoon nervous, imagining how Michael would react to seeing the photo. Around 4 o'clock, she heard shouts coming from his office. Jennifer, get in here now. She took a deep breath and entered the room. Michael was standing holding the photo with trembling hands. What is this? He yelled. It's a photo of you and your wife, sir. I found it in the archives and thought, I don't want to see this. He slammed the photo onto the desk. How many times do I have to say I don't want anything that reminds me of her? But Mr. Peterson, look how happy you were in this photo. It's not a bad memory, it's a beautiful one. You don't understand anything. Michael was red with anger. This photo just shows me what I've lost. Show me that I'll never have that happiness again, or show that you've had a happiness many people never experience in their entire lives, Jennifer countered bravely. Michael glared at her furiously, but she continued. Mr. Peterson, I know it hurts. I know seeing this photo brings back immense longing, but it also shows you lived a true love, and that's something no one can take from you. Enough, Michael shouted. You're fired. Get your things and leave. Jennifer felt as if she'd been punched in the stomach, but she didn't move. All right, I'll get my things. But first, there's something I need to give you. She pulled Elizabeth's notebook from her bag and placed it on the table. Your wife wrote this for you, and before you ask how I got it, her sister, Sarah, kept it to give to you when she felt the time was right. Michael stared at the notebook as if it were a bomb about to explode. I don't want this. Mrs. Elizabeth knew you'd react this way. That's why she wrote a special letter for this moment. Jennifer opened the notebook to a marked page and began reading aloud. Michael, my love, I know if someone tries to give you this notebook, you'll resist. I know you'll shout, you'll get angry, you'll want to send them away. But I also know that deep in your heart you miss our conversations, our laughter, our shared dreams. Michael stopped shouting and just watched Jennifer read. I don't want you to spend the rest of your life as if our love story were a tragedy. It was a beautiful story, Michael. The most beautiful story that ever existed. And I want you to hold on to the best parts, not just the sadness of the end." Tears began streaming down Michael's face. "If you're hearing these words, it means someone cares enough about you to face your anger and try to help you. That person deserves your gratitude, not your fury." Michael sank into his chair, covering his face with his hands. "Why did she have to leave?" he whispered. "Why couldn't she stay with me?" Jennifer stepped closer and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "I don't have the answer to that, Mr. Peterson, but I know she loved you deeply. And people who truly love us want our happiness, even when they're no longer here to share it with us." Michael cried silently for several minutes. Jennifer stayed by his side, offering only her quiet presence. "I miss her so much," he finally said. "I know, and I think you always will. But maybe it's possible to miss her in a way that hurts less." Michael picked up the notebook and flipped through a few pages, reading silently. "How did you get this?" "I reached out to Sarah. I was worried about you and thought she might help me understand the situation better. Sarah, I haven't spoken to her in 3 years. She tried to help me at first, but I always pushed her away. She understands, and she never stopped caring about you." Michael kept reading the notebook, and Jennifer could see a gradual shift in his expression. The anger was giving way to a softer sadness, mixed with something that looked like relief. "Elizabeth always knew exactly what to say to calm me down," he murmured, smiling slightly as he read a page. "She knew you well, better than I knew myself." Michael looked at Jennifer. "I'm sorry for shouting at you, and I'm sorry for firing you. It wasn't fair." "It's okay. I knew it was a risk." "Why did you do it? You barely know me." Jennifer thought for a few seconds before answering. "Because I recognize the pain in the eyes of someone who's lost someone important, and because I believe everyone deserves a second chance at happiness." Michael looked at her with an expression that mixed gratitude and confusion. "You remind me a little of her, you know. Elizabeth also always wanted to take care of everyone. She seemed like a special person." She was. Michael picked up the photo he had tossed on the table and looked at it more calmly. "In this picture, we were celebrating our first wedding anniversary. Elizabeth insisted we take photos in the sunflower field because she said they represented our happiness. Is that why you acted strange when I brought sunflowers to the office?" Sunflowers were her favorite flowers. At first, seeing any sunflower upset me. But today, he glanced at the small vase still sitting on the file. Today it didn't hurt as much. That's progress. Maybe it is. Michael spent the rest of the afternoon reading Elizabeth's notebook. Jennifer returned to her desk, giving him space to process everything alone. At the end of the workday, he called her over again. "Jennifer, could you do me a favor?" "Of course, Mr. Peterson. Could you call Sarah and ask if she'd like to have dinner with me tomorrow? I need to talk to her and apologize for distancing myself. I'm sure she'll be very happy. And you, would you like to join us? I think Elizabeth would like knowing we have a friend looking out for both of us." Jennifer smiled, feeling a wave of emotion. It would be an honor. The next day, the three met at the same Italian restaurant where Michael usually ate alone. Anthony, the waiter, was visibly surprised to see him with company. "Mr. Peterson, what a joy to see you with guests today." "Anthony, this is Sarah and Jennifer. Sarah is my sister-in-law, and Jennifer is..." He hesitated, searching for the right word. "Jennifer is a very special friend." During dinner, Sarah and Michael talked about Elizabeth, sharing memories that made them both laugh and cry at the same time. Jennifer watched, happy to see Michael allowing himself to feel something beyond pure pain. "Elizabeth left some things for you, Michael," Sarah said at one point. "Besides the notebook, she kept other mementos she wanted you to have when you were ready." "What kind of mementos?" "Her wedding ring, some letters she never got to give you, and a special project she was planning." "A special project?" Sarah looked at Jennifer, who nodded encouragingly. "She was planning a surprise trip to Europe for your 25th wedding anniversary. She had everything arranged, tickets, hotels, itineraries. She wanted to fulfill your shared dream." Michael was silent for a few minutes, processing the information. She never told me about this. It was meant to be a surprise. But after there wasn't time left, I kept all her plans. I thought maybe one day you'd want to know. Can I see these plans? Of course, I have everything at home. After dinner, the three went to Sarah's house. She showed Michael a folder full of travel documents, photos of places Elizabeth wanted to visit, notes about restaurants and hotels. Look at this, Sarah said, showing a map of France. She marked all the places you'd go: Paris, Provence, the Castle region. Michael flipped through the papers with a mix of sadness and admiration. She really thought of everything. Elizabeth was always detail-oriented. And look at this. Sarah handed him a sealed envelope with Michael's name written in Elizabeth's handwriting. What is it? A letter she planned to give you on the plane at the start of the trip. Michael carefully opened the envelope and read the letter silently. His tears fell onto the paper as he read. What did she write? Jennifer asked softly. Michael wiped his eyes and began reading aloud. My love, if you're reading this letter, it means we're finally going to Europe. I know you always thought it was an impossible dream, but I wanted to prove that all dreams can come true when two people truly love each other. This trip is my way of thanking you for 25 years of happiness by your side. He paused, visibly emotional. I want this trip to be the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, a chapter where we fulfill all the dreams we put off for later. Because now I understand that later sometimes never comes, and that's why we need to live every moment we have together to the fullest. Michael couldn't continue reading. Sarah took the letter and went on. If for some reason I can't be with you on this trip, I want you to go anyway. I want you to see all the places we dreamed of together. And when you're watching the sunset at the Eiffel Tower or walking through the lavender fields of Provence, I want you to know I'll be there with you, in your heart. Silence filled the room. Michael wept openly, but his tears seemed different now. Not just of sorrow, but also of gratitude. She really wanted me to be happy, he finally said. She always did, Sarah confirmed. Elizabeth used to say that true love doesn't end with parting. It transforms into something that helps us keep living. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the weeks that followed, Michael began a gradual transformation. He wasn't healed. He still had difficult moments and days when grief weighed heavily on his heart. But now he could talk about Elizabeth without despair, could look at their photos together without feeling only pain. Jennifer continued working as his secretary, but her role expanded into something more like a friend and confidant. She helped Michael organize a small memorial for Elizabeth in the office, a table with photos, flowers, and some of her personal belongings. I think the employees also missed being able to talk about her, Jennifer remarked one Monday morning. You're right. Elizabeth was beloved by everyone here. Maybe I was selfish trying to erase all memories of her. You were grieving. No one can judge how someone handles such a great loss. Michael began engaging more in the company's life again. He resumed talking to employees, taking interest in projects, and making decisions he'd delegated to others during his years of emotional absence. Thompson, the longest-serving employee, said to Jennifer, "Girl, I don't know what you did, but Michael is becoming the person we knew years ago. Not the same as before, but different, as if he's found a way to carry the pain without letting it destroy him. I think he always had that strength inside him. He just needed help finding it again." A month after the first dinner with Sarah, Michael made a decision that surprised everyone. "Jennifer, could you come here for a minute?" he called from his office. "Of course, Mr. Peterson." When she entered, she saw Michael holding the travel folder Elizabeth had prepared. "I've been thinking about the trip to Europe." "Oh?" I think Elizabeth was right. Later sometimes never comes, and she wanted me to fulfill this dream. "Are you thinking of going?" "I am, but I don't want to go alone." He looked her straight in the eyes. "I'd like you and Sarah to come with me." Jennifer was speechless for a few seconds. "Mr. Peterson, that's incredible. But why us?" "Because you two helped me find my way back to life, and because Elizabeth would want to know I'm not alone on this journey." I'm sure Mrs. Thompson will be touched. I've already spoken to her. She cried so much I thought she would faint. Michael smiled, and Jennifer noticed it was the first genuine smile she had ever seen from him. And when do you plan to travel? On our wedding anniversary, 2 months from now. That's when Elizabeth originally planned it. It will be a beautiful tribute to her. It will be our way of saying her love taught us how to live again. The next 2 months were filled with intense preparations. Michael, Sarah, and Jennifer met regularly to plan the trip, following the itinerary Elizabeth had left, but adjusting some things to include places the three of them wanted to visit. During this time, Michael continued opening up more. He began sharing stories about Elizabeth with other employees, revisiting joyful memories he hadn't recalled in a long time. "You know, Jennifer," he said one evening as they finalized the last details of the trip, "a few weeks ago I woke up and, for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel that weight in my chest when I thought of her." "How did that feel?" "At first I felt guilty, like it was a betrayal not to suffer for her. But then I remembered something Elizabeth always said. True love wants the happiness of the beloved, not their sorrow." She was right. She was. And I think she'd be happy to know I finally understand that. On the eve of the trip, Michael did something no one expected. He gathered all the company's employees in the main hall and gave a short speech. "I want to thank all of you for your patience with me these past 3 years. I know I haven't been the boss or the person you deserved. I was lost in my own pain and forgot that you missed Elizabeth too." Many employees were visibly moved, but I've learned that Elizabeth wouldn't want us to be sad forever. She always wanted us to be a family here at the company, and that's what I want us to be again. Mrs. Thompson raised her hand. "Mr. Peterson, I think I speak for all of us when I say we never stopped rooting for you. Elizabeth always said you were the strongest man she knew, and she was right." Michael smiled and looked at Jennifer. "I also want to especially thank Jennifer, who never gave up on me even when I deserved to be left alone. She showed me that accepting help isn't weakness, it's courage." The trip to Europe was everything Elizabeth had dreamed of and more. Michael, Sarah, and Jennifer visited Paris, where Michael finally saw the sunset at the Eiffel Tower that Elizabeth had mentioned in her letter. He cried, but they were tears of gratitude. In Provence, they walked through lavender fields, and Michael felt Elizabeth's presence in a different way, not as a painful absence, but as a loving presence still guiding his steps. "She's here with us," Sarah said, holding her brother-in-law's hand as they watched the purple fields stretch to the horizon. "She is," Michael agreed. "But now it brings me peace, not pain." Jennifer watched them with a smile, happy to have been part of that transformation. On the last night of the trip, as they dined at a small restaurant in Provence, Michael made a statement that deeply touched the hearts of both women. "I want you to know, this trip taught me something very important. Elizabeth may no longer be physically with us, but the love she planted in our lives keeps blooming. And that's something no one can take away." "Will you be all right now, Michael?" Sarah asked. "I will. I won't pretend the longing isn't there, but I won't let it stop me from living either. Elizabeth wouldn't want that." "What do you plan to do when we get back?" Michael looked at Jennifer. "I have a few plans. I want to expand the company, hire more young people, create a work environment Elizabeth would be proud of. And I want to keep traveling, discovering new places, living experiences she would have wanted me to have." "Alone?" "No." Michael smiled. "I hope my 2 travel companions will keep joining me on future adventures." Sarah and Jennifer exchanged glances and smiled. "Of course we will," they replied in unison. When they returned to the United States, Michael was transformed. He was no longer the bitter, closed-off man Jennifer had met months before. He was someone who had learned to carry love and longing in a healthy way. He implemented several changes in the company. He created a mentorship program for young professionals, established a support fund for employees facing personal hardships, and started a tradition of celebrating not just professional successes, but also the special moments in each employee's life. "These are all things Elizabeth always wanted to do," he explained to Jennifer. Now I can honor her memory by bringing to life the dreams we didn't have time to fulfill together. 6 months after the trip, Michael threw a company party to celebrate what he called his rebirth. During the event, he gave another heartfelt speech. "A year ago, I was a dead man inside. I avoided anything that reminded me of the love of my life because I thought the memories were too painful. But I learned that trying to forget those we love doesn't ease the pain, it only wastes the love." He looked at Jennifer, standing among the crowd of employees. "A very special person taught me that we can honor those who are gone by living fully, not by dying with them. And that's what I've decided to do." The party was a success, but the most moving moment came at the end when Michael unveiled a surprise for everyone. "I want to show you something special," he said, leading them all to the building's terrace. Up there was a garden filled with sunflowers planted in the shape of a heart. "This is Elizabeth's garden," Michael explained, his voice thick with emotion. "Each sunflower here represents a year of love we shared, and it also stands as my promise to keep living with joy, the way she would have wanted." Everyone fell silent, taking in the beauty of the garden. Jennifer stepped closer to Michael. "Elizabeth would be so proud of the man you've become." "I couldn't have done it alone," he said, looking at her with gratitude. "You and Sarah gave me back the ability to love life. We just reminded you of what was already in your heart." Michael looked around, watching the happy employees chatting and celebrating together. For the first time in years, he felt completely at peace. "You know something, Jennifer?" "What?" "This morning, I woke up smiling before I even remembered why. I think Elizabeth would be happy to know I've regained the ability to feel spontaneous joy." "I'm sure she would. And you? Are you happy with everything we've accomplished?" Jennifer glanced around at the blooming garden, the celebrating employees, Michael smiling sincerely for the first time since she'd met him. "I'm more than happy, I'm fulfilled. Because I've learned that sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is simply not giving up on them." Michael hugged her warmly. "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey back to life." As the sun set over the sunflower garden, Michael reflected on everything that had happened over the past months. He had lost the love of his life, but in the process he had found something precious. The understanding that true love never dies, it only transforms. Elizabeth was no longer physically present, but her love lived on in every smile Michael shared, in every act of kindness he showed his employees, in every moment of joy he allowed into his life. And most importantly, he had learned that honoring those who are gone doesn't mean living in perpetual sadness, but living so fully and lovingly that our lives become a testament to the love we received. That night, for the first time in 3 years, Michael went to sleep with a smile on his face. And when he woke the next morning, the smile was still there, not as a forced memory of the past, but as the natural expression of a man who had learned to live again. The company flourished under his new leadership. Michael became known not just as a successful businessman, but as someone who genuinely cared for his employees' well-being. He and Jennifer developed a deep friendship, built on mutual respect and gratitude for helping each other grow. Sarah began visiting the office regularly, bringing fresh flowers for Elizabeth's garden and sharing new stories about her sister that helped Michael keep the memory of their happy times alive. And whenever someone asked Michael the secret to his transformation, he would answer, "I learned that true love doesn't end with goodbye. It just teaches us new ways to live." A year after this journey began, Michael organized a small ceremony in the sunflower garden. It was the 4th anniversary of Elizabeth's passing, but for the first time he wanted to mark the date as a celebration of her life, not as mourning. Elizabeth always said she wanted to be remembered for the love she spread, not the sadness her leaving caused, he told the small gathering. Jennifer, Sarah, Mrs. Thompson, and a few close employees. So today, instead of crying because she's gone, let's celebrate that she existed and filled our lives with so much love that we still feel it 4 years later. They released biodegradable balloons with messages of gratitude written for Elizabeth. Michael looked up, watching the balloons rise toward the sky, and felt a deep peace in his heart. "Thank you, my love," he whispered, "for teaching me that true love is eternal, And thank you for bringing special people into my life to remind me of that when I had forgotten." Jennifer stepped closer to him. "Do you think she hears us?" Michael smiled, that genuine smile that had become his trademark once again. "I'm sure she does, and I'm sure she's happy to see we finally learned the most important lesson she tried to teach us, that the best way to honor those we love is by living with joy and spreading love wherever we go." At that moment, a gentle breeze swayed the sunflowers in the garden, like a whisper of approval from somewhere beyond the blue sky. Michael took a deep breath, looked around at all the people who had become his new family, and knew he had finally found the perfect balance between holding on to the love of the past and embracing the possibilities of the future. He had learned to smile again, not because he had forgotten Elizabeth, but because he understood that carrying her love in his heart was the most beautiful way to keep her alive forever. The end. And what did you think of this story of resilience and love, dear listener? Did Michael make the right choice by accepting help? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.